Hey, how's it going, guys? Ethan Netflix Gamer here, and today I want to talk about something a little bit different, a little bit uh, weird, really, when you consider it. Basically, I want to talk about what's going on with Netflix games and also what's going on with Microsoft and whether or not we can see Microsoft-owned games on Netflix games. Now, for those who don't know, right, Microsoft has the platform of Xbox, obviously they own Bethesda, stuff like like Doom and whatnot. And they're currently in the middle of trying to acquire Activision Blizzard, who make Call of Duty and games like Candy Crush. Now, for those who don't know, one of the things that's going on with Microsoft is obviously the fact that they have to do behavioural remedies with the FTC, EU, and CMA in the UK in order to allow such an acquisition to take place. So, why is this relevant to Netflix games? Well, something Microsoft has been doing, as Microsoft has been teaming up with many different cloud gaming companies such as NVIDIA GeForce Now, Boosteroid, and Ubiquitous, as well as making deals with Nintendo and Steam to keep their games available for at least 10 years. So, why is this relevant to Netflix games? Well, I'll tell you. Netflix Games obviously has slowly built up a library of games from obviously 55 games currently from many different developers, including Netflix's own internal studios. But nothing has really been a major hit, at least in the eyes of general audiences. But we could potentially end up seeing games from Microsoft owned developers and studios if this deal goes through. Because for those who don't know, Microsoft and Microsoft and Netflix have a working relationship, and that relationship has been essentially, from what I know, basically been about advertising. From what I know, they Microsoft is basically the advertising partner for Netflix when it comes to obviously who runs the ad tier for Netflix. Now, why is this relevant? Well, I feel like Netflix could potentially be a company that that Microsoft wants to work with in order for to get this deal passed. Now, why do I say this? Well, first of all, Netflix obviously is slowly building up a cloud gaming service, so they could easily run games like Doom, Call of Duty, Wolfenstein, and possibly even games like Halo and that, depending on how generous Microsoft is feeling to be towards Netflix. Likewise, obviously they've got a working relationship, and also currently Microsoft is working with Netflix to make a show, an animated a cartoon, and a film about Gears of War, which is one of their most successful game franchises. So, to me, there's obviously a lot of stuff there. Not mention they already have an existing working relationship with obviously the advertising deals, although Netflix is said to be trying to bring that in house themselves. So, what else? Because you got that. You also got to consider that Netflix kind of needs the help of Microsoft to bring more games to the platform as well. Think about it. Games like Candy Crush, Call of Duty Mobile, and Mighty Doom could potentially be huge games for Netflix to have on their service. You know, and as obviously we get into a point with games where there are so many different developers, so many different publishers, it feels like to me that Netflix kind of needs to get someone like Microsoft to support them, but Microsoft also wants this Activision deal to go through. And if Netflix is obviously serious about getting into cloud gaming, they could easily become a bigger player by working with Microsoft and well, just licensing some of their games. Now, whatever games Microsoft would end up buying, what we'll bring into Netflix games, I don't actually know. You know, Netflix obviously will have to work that deal out with Microsoft themselves. But if Microsoft really wants to get the Activision deal to go through, it would make sense for them to team up with someone like Netflix, who's already quite big in the realm of mobile games now, and obviously working on a cloud gaming service to obviously become a bigger name within. Well, not really becoming a bigger name, but obviously to sort of deal out with the behavioural remedies which is required now due to obviously companies like Sony having issues with the deal. But whether or not we could see Microsoft make a deal with Netflix is quite interesting because Netflix is obviously trying their best to grow as a game platform, and a deal with Microsoft could be huge for them. There's clearly games that Microsoft own, that Netflix could benefit from having games like Minecraft, Call of Duty, Halo, Doom. Whether or not Microsoft would release all those games is uncertain. We don't know what games Microsoft would make a deal with Netflix for. But we could also see Netflix and Microsoft sort of work together on cross-media promotions, like the Gears of War stuff, where Gears of War is obviously a Microsoft-owned franchise, and they obviously made the Gears of War games. But also, we see something like Netflix make some TV shows and movies based on those properties, which would boost their overall knowledge of that IP to more people who aren't gamers, and then potentially have Microsoft license to games to Netflix as well. To me, there's many different ways this could happen, and obviously, it's just it's a curious case, really. Netflix games could benefit from this deal quite a lot, and obviously Microsoft would benefit because obviously they could basically say, "Hey, Netflix is obviously a company that's we're working with to bring more games to," and well, it could help allow it could convince companies like the FTC, EU, and CMA that the deal isn't anti-competitive, as obviously Netflix is a rather big company, and with them trying to just really getting into gaming, then they're still struggling to find a foothold really when it comes to what sort of games to bring, what sort of games to make. Like they have over 70 games in development for Netflix games from external parties, and obviously 16 internal games being in development. But but Netflix obviously, in my opinion, needs this deal more than Microsoft do. But obviously, both companies could benefit from this deal. This deal would obviously allow both companies to basically flourish in the gaming scene, and obviously, it would just be good for both parties, especially as well as consumers, because then consumers could obviously get games on either Netflix from Microsoft, or they could get games from, well, they get games from Microsoft on Netflix, or they can buy them from Microsoft themselves. Netflix obviously be able to increase its game library by a lot of games. And well, that's just the whole point with Netflix games. Obviously, Netflix needs more games, and the best way to get more games is obviously team up with developers and publishers. And since Microsoft is obviously trying to buy Activision, definitely need to make deals with third party companies in order to convince regulators that it's not an anti competitive deal. So to me, getting companies like Netflix on board would be huge, especially since they already have a working relationship with Netflix, and obviously it benefit both parties. That's the whole point in this deal. That's the whole point in this video. Is to suggest obviously the fact that it could work. Both parties could obviously benefit from such a deal. And well, it all comes down to whatever comes to the table. Microsoft and Sony, not Sony, Microsoft and Netflix have to come to the table and discuss this themselves. But to me, I feel like it would be beneficial for both parties. Anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. I've been Ethan Netflix Gamer, and I'm signing out. Peace.